The Texas Longhorns came out with their first Big 12 win of the season on Saturday, but against a 1-5 team. How much momentum should the Burnt Orange take from the victory? We break down the win and bring you up to date on all the news around Texas sports. This is College Press Box. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the #1 sports coverage show here on the 40 Acres College Press Box. I'm your host, Nick Kucholtz. It was a long 35 days before the Longhorn football team could pick up their third win of the season, but on Saturday evening, the Burnt Orange and White kept the Iowa State Cyclones from finding the end zone once and came out with a 27-6 victory. Let's head out to DKR for the highlights. The Texas Longhorns came out ready to do anything to pick up the win on Saturday. Freshman QB Shane Buechele finds junior Armonte Foreman for what looks like a 37-yard touchdown, but a face mask by both teams negates the catch. The very next play, though, former quarterback turned wide receiver Gerard Hurd hauls in this touchdown pass from Buechele, giving the Horns their first lead of the game. On the defensive side of the ball, sophomores Brecken Hager and Anthony Wheeler team up on the sack here in the middle of the third quarter. Then, the Texas D stuffs Iowa State running back Mike Warren for a loss of 1 and gets the UT offense back onto the field. True freshman to true freshman on this completion as Buechele finds Devin Duvernay for a 75-yard bomb on the right sideline, the second game in a row where the two connect on the deep ball. Nashawn Hughes now gets in on the defensive action, sacking Cyclones quarterback Joel Lanning for a loss of 8. And back on offense, Buechele finds Gerard Hurd once again, this time keeping the drive alive with a gain of 8. And later on the drive, who other than Deontay Foreman finds the end zone on this 18-yard score, his 7th straight game of over 100-plus yards on the ground as Texas takes this one 27-6. TSTV's Tyler King was at DKR Saturday covering the game and has more on the long-awaited Texas win.
During their 3-game road trip, the Texas defense gave up an average of 48 points per game, but with the return to Austin, the Texas defense came ready to play.
So I told our defense, I said, listen, we got to continue to play and don't go out there and just relax and then give them the throws and let them, give up the big play. But we were able to come back and continue to pressure the quarterback and stop the run and get off the field.
Our front seven play was fantastic this whole week. Our preparation for Coach Haley, Coach BJ, and Coach Bedford, and even Coach Strong just challenging us to go out there and get sacks and get quarterback pressures and quarterback hurry-ups.
After what was a stagnant first half for the Longhorns offense, they were able to come out quickly in the second half thanks to a big touchdown from freshman Devin Duvernay.
That was good because, early on in the season we struggled at, putting up points in the second half, and that's been a big focus since then, just, playing a complete game and trying to, pick up things in the second half.
Along with the big play from Duvernay, the Texas offense got a shot in the arm in the second half from junior running back Deontay Foreman, who notched his 7th consecutive 100-yard rushing game, which now sits second all-time in school history.
Yeah, anytime you got a back that can go for 100-plus and be able to do that on the ground and be right in the middle of what we're trying to produce offensively and within tempo and get us momentum and pick up first downs, it's huge for us and huge for us to have success.
The Longhorns will now hit the road once again, this time to Manhattan, Kansas, to take on the Kansas State Wildcats this upcoming weekend. From DKR Stadium, I'm Tyler King, College Press Box.
Thanks, Tyler, for the report. Joining me now to talk more about the Longhorns win is football analyst Luke Hendry. Luke, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Nick.
Happy to have you on, Luke. Now, Coach Strong emphasizes the importance of playing consistent on the road, but also understands that his defense has struggled in all 3 of their away games this season.
That's a tough place to play because they don't lose many games at home, and their fans, they always have a sellout crowd, and their fans are really into it. And I always talk about, like, with their student section, they come piling in the stadium when we're out there warming up, and they're right behind us. And I told our players, you can't listen to their chants, and you just got to make sure that we keep our focus and not direct it and hear it all from what they're saying. But you just got to go in there and you got to go play, and that's what we haven't done.
Coming into the Iowa State game, the Texas defense let up 144 points in their previous 3 matchups. Obviously, the Cyclones aren't the strongest of opponents, but what did the Horns do differently on the defensive side of the ball to allow only 6 points?
Nick, they were playing the cellar dweller of the Big 12 in Iowa State. However, holding the Cyclones to 6 points should be motivating for Texas Longhorn fans. Iowa State put up 42 points on the Big 12 leader Baylor and 31 on Oklahoma State. So at the end of the day, the Texas defense was better than what we all saw at the Red River Showdown. The defensive line played their most complete game, and notable changes were made to the secondary. Benching Devontae Davis and Holton Hill made a difference, and the performances by sophomore John Bonney and Deshaun Elliott stood out. However, the Texas defense did have self-incriminating penalties. The late fourth quarter unsportsmanlike calls on Brecken Hager and Chris Boyd are unexcusable for a coach that prides himself on defense like Charlie Strong. Those are the things that have to change, and if Texas wants to be elite again, they have to act elite again. All in all, tackling needs to improve, discipline needs to be addressed, and more progress can be made heading into Manhattan this weekend.
The constant defensive struggle led Coach Strong to call a players-only meeting this past week. This gave the players an opportunity to speak out and refocus heading into Iowa State. Senior Dylan Haynes stresses how this meeting positively impacted the team.
Just kind of the overall, message behind that or thinking behind that. Obviously, Coach Strong wanted just a players-only meeting where, we could kind of just go in there and talk to each other as players, about some of the things that we were seeing on the field, some of the things we were seeing off the field, and just like come together closer as a team. I mean, that's what it's really all about. And, that's something that Coach Strong's done a really great job of this year, coming in and just trying to, create a team, not just kind of individual cliques and groups, create a team where everyone feels comfortable around each other. So that's just kind of what the meeting was about.
Building off the senior leadership, Longhorn fans also saw true freshmen in action on Saturday night. Guys like DeAndre Christmas, Devin Duvernay, Jeffrey McCulloch, and Brandon Jones came out and made plays. Luke, how important has it been to Charlie Strong's program to have such young guys step up on and off the field?
The youth of the Texas Longhorn football team is inevitable, Nick. I mean, the starting quarterback is a true freshman. Defensive starters are being replaced by inexperienced sophomores. So Charlie Strong does not have a choice but to get these young guys involved as leaders. The role of Brandon Jones, Devin Duvernay, Jeffrey McCulloch, and other talented freshmen is crucial to the success of this team. The level and focus at which they play is what Charlie Strong and the rest of the coaching staff will have to continue to motivate and guide through the remainder of this season.
The Horns will definitely need that leadership this weekend. Texas has lost all 3 games on the road, and Coach Charlie Strong understands that this weekend's away matchup isn't going to be any easier.
We have not played well on the road, didn't play well out in California, didn't play well in Stillwater, and even in Dallas we didn't play well. And then we're going to have to, because you always talk about just packing your defense. Your defense has to come alive.
Texas has not won in Manhattan since 2002. Luke, what do the Horns need to do on Saturday to take down the Kansas State Wildcats?
Texas needs to rely once again on scoring points. It's what they've done well all season long. The Longhorn offense got off to a slow start against Iowa State and Oklahoma, and that can simply not happen against Kansas State, where they've struggled in the past. Sterling Gilbert has the play calling. If Texas can execute and put up some points, then they'll have a chance to move to 4-3 after their trip to Manhattan. On the defensive side, continue to make strides this week in practice, but when it's all said and done and the game starts on Saturday, just play football. The changes that were made this week past showed improvement, so Strong needs to build on them and have a secondary just play a complete game for 60 minutes.
Luke, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks so much, Nick, as always.
When we come back, we'll take a look at the other athletic events going on around campus. Stick around. Welcome back to College Press Box. With me now is our very own Grant Michaels. Grant, what did you think of the UT win on Saturday?
Well, I don't want to get too excited about the win, considering the opponent. However, it was a step in the right direction for Charlie Strong's club.
Absolutely, I think so too. And the football team weren't the only ones here on campus to come out with a victory this past week. The Longhorn volleyball team had a bye on Saturday, but met the Baylor Bears earlier in the week on Wednesday in Waco. After dropping the first set to the host, the Horns came back to win the next three. Micaiah White and Ebony Wanabu both led the team with 16 kills. Texas has now won all 6 of their conference games, and the Longhorns are back at home on Wednesday, where they will meet the TCU Horned Frogs at 7 o'clock.
Texas softball got off to a hot start in its opening fall campaign, defeating St. Edward's 12-3. The Horns offense sent 9 batters to the plate in each of the opening 2 innings and banged out 12 total hits. 10 different Longhorns registered at least 1 hit, led by sophomore outfielder Becca Alcazor, who went 1 for 4 with a tone-setting 3-run double during the first inning. Sophomore infielder Christina Bardwell contributed a towering 2-run home run in the third. The Horns look towards their next match this Friday against Temple College.
The Texas men's tennis team traveled to Malibu, California this past weekend to compete in the Oracle ITA Masters Tournament. Freshman Yuya Ito was coming off a third-round appearance in last week's All-American Tournament in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Ito was looking to repeat that same success in the Golden State. He started play off Thursday afternoon, winning in straight sets, sending himself to the second round, where he would meet Jack Findle Hawkins from the University of North Florida. The freshman bowed out in the second round, though, falling in 3 sets, but Yuya will look to bounce back at the ITA Texas Regional this weekend in Fort Worth.
The men and women's track team pulled off top 5 finishes this past week at the Penn State Open. Senior Sandy Raines led the women with one of her best performances of the seasons, despite missing the Notre Dame Invitational last month due to illness. Raines got out early and placed 6th in the 6,000-meter race, clocking in at 20 minutes and 28 seconds. The Longhorns hit the courses again on Saturday, October 29th for the Big 12 Championships in Lubbock, Texas.
The Texas women's soccer team faced the Iowa State Cyclones this past Friday. The Horns traveled to Ames looking for their first Big 12 win of the season, but for the 4th time in conference play, the Horns lost, falling 2-0. After a 6-3-1 start to the season, Texas has now lost 4 of their last 5 games and find themselves at the bottom of the Big 12 standings. The Horns will look to turn their season around starting this Friday against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Grant, the Horns are at the bottom of the conference table. They've struggled all year. What's been going wrong for them?
Well, it's not that there's not talent on this Texas team. They haven't been getting blown out of the water during these matches. They've played teams very tight, including several overtime losses. However, little lapses in concentration have hurt the Horns throughout the season. And yes, you could say that the team has been riddled with injuries, but when you look at the talent of this top 15 recruiting class in the nation, they should have enough depth to turn these overtime losses into wins.
Well, the ladies are running out of time. They have to get back on the winning track. What do they need to do to fix things right now?
There's a simple answer and a complicated answer. The simple answer is get results. You have to find a way to win games. Once the Horns score, they need to bunker down and not concede any more goals. They've had several early leads this season and can't find a way to finish the game off. They need to put these teams away early and leave no doubt for the rest of the season.
Grant, always great an analyst from you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
When we come back, James Kucholtz and Eric Goodman will have all of the news from the rest of the college football world in Week 6. Stay with us.
Hello, welcome into this week's segment of Unhooked. I'm James Kucholtz, joined by Eric Goodman to talk a little college ball outside the 40 acres. Eric, what's going on, man?
Yeah, we'll get to that, what's going on, but why don't you take it from here, we'll get back to me.
All right, I'll take it from here. Now, top-ranked Alabama has yet again demolished their opponent, this time being the Tennessee Volunteers. Saban and his boys looking unstoppable once again, but it wasn't quite as easy for the second and third-ranked teams in the nation. And we'll jump right in as we dive over to Wisconsin, Ohio State. Wisconsin, get that cheese. Come on. And as Ohio State had 5 fairly easy wins, they go in against OU. Easy wins, but JT Barrett not looking so hot as he is picked off in the end zone. And it looked like it would be all Badgers. But in the fourth quarter, JT Barrett, take a look at this throw. Waiting, finding Dontre Wilson all the way downfield. Now they're down by 3. They'd set up a field goal. You know where we're going. OT, baby. And over here we see that Alex Hornibrook is absolutely demolished by that Ohio State defense. Another win for OSU. Boy, not bad. Urban Meyer's club's looking pretty good. Of course, they got Michigan way later in the season. What do you see coming up from them?
I see a team under Urban Meyer that's as close as anyone's ever come to Nick Saban in Alabama. And Michigan under Jim Harbaugh, also really competitive program. And I think that matchup, last game of the regular season in the Big Ten, could be instant classic.
Yep, another big game coming up. But this weekend, of course, Clemson, number 3, was also in action as they took on the great NC State. Unfortunately, it wouldn't go so hot for Clemson as we move on. Now let's check out our highlights here. As Deshaun Watson, oops, that's not the right team. Michael Stevens picks it off. He's going to go take it for 6. Looking a little bit testy right now for Clemson. And guess who would have the chance to win it all? NC State. They're going to take it. They got this one locked up. And, oh, my God. That's not good. Nope. Not what we're looking for. Wide right, Buffalo Bills style. And you know what's happening in overtime. Deshaun Watson is going to find his receiver. Another W for Clemson. 1, 2, and 3 remain unscathed. Not so hot for 2 and 3. But Clemson, what do you see for them going forward?
Well, here's a team I see that can win when they're really not supposed to, when they can sneak out with the W, which is what you have to do in college football especially, to make it into a playoff for a second consecutive year, which Clemson is looking to do and prove that last year was no fluke and that they are the kings of the ACC.
Now, as we finish up this segment, I want to say that in my days as a hockey player, I spent a lot of time serving penalties due to a variety of infraction. I'll save you the details, but all that angry time I spent in the box thinking finally sparked an idea. Today, I handed off to Eric for the first installment of 2 Minutes in the Box. What you got?
Thanks, James. Just a few hours ago, presidents from the 10 member schools of the Big 12 voted to not to invite Houston, BYU, Cincinnati, UConn, or anyone else to join the conference. And no fan of any Big 12 team should be okay with that. That's because the schools turned their back on the fans with this decision. It's been obvious these last few years that not only is the Big 12 the smallest of the Power 5 conferences, but it's also the weakest, the least relevant. It's the only Power 5 conference without a conference championship game in football, the only one without its own television network, hasn't won a national championship in basketball since Kansas in 2008, and hasn't won a national championship in football since the Texas Longhorns in 2005. Fans want competition, and fans want their league to be relevant, and they're not getting that as of now. Now, let's not kid ourselves and think that adding 2 teams from the group of 5 conferences was going to fix all these issues, but it would have been a heck of a good place to start. Houston was the perfect candidate, and the league should be ashamed of itself for not adding the Cougars. They're more relevant right now and closer to a national championship than any Big 12 team. BYU has plenty of its own issues, but none of them come close to the controversy that Baylor has caused recently, and Baylor is supposedly a core member of the conference. Cincinnati and UConn, they weren't perfect either, but they would have at least been better than the status quo. Bottom line, Big 12 not only wasted the time of as many as 20 universities from California to New England hoping to get an invite to the conference, but it wasted the time of the fans too. The only parties who come out of this looking smart are Nebraska, Missouri, Colorado, and Texas A&M, who all got out of this cesspool of a conference and into a respectable league when they could. Texas and Oklahoma are under contract to remain in the Big 12 for 8 more years, and unless things take a major change, they shouldn't spend a day in the conference beyond that.
Strong words. You heard it here first. Thank you, Eric, and that is it for Unhooked. This week when we come back, we will check in on the Twins who have taken over the Texas offense. Mark Skoll will report on the Foreman Bros. Back in just a moment. Nick, back to you, bud.
For a final time tonight, we welcome you back to College Press Box. Let's check out what's going on in Texas sports throughout the week. Texas volleyball once again is in action Wednesday night as they face off with TCU. On Friday, swimming and diving begin their year at Indiana, and volleyball once again is at Texas Tech, as is soccer. Later in the weekend, swimming and diving continues their run in Indiana, as well as football with the early kickoff against the Wildcats at 11 a.m. And to conclude the weekend, girls soccer in action against the West Virginia Mountaineers at 5 o'clock on Fox Sports Network. Before we go, two twin brothers on the Texas football team have played magnificent roles within the offense this year in their third season on campus. Our very own Mark Skoll Jr. tells us more on the Foreman brothers.
There have been countless brothers who have left their own legacy at Texas, from the Griffins to the Ochos, but now it's the Foreman twins, junior wide receiver Armani and running back Deontay, who are leaving their own mark on the 40 acres.
The both of us, we just competitive with each other, and we just kind of use that against each other.
The brotherly competition is certainly bringing the best out of the Foremans. Deontay is currently ranked second in the country with 148 rushing yards per game and is putting himself in conversation with some of the best running backs in Texas history.
We're chasing ghosts here. It's so many great players that came through here. And you wanna be in the talk with those guys. So it's nice, but I don't worry about it. I gotta just do what I'm here to do. I love watching him play. I think he uses it, to go out there and perform the way he performs. And I just love sitting back and watching him.
While Deontay is stealing the show on the ground, Armani is leading the team with 18 receptions, and he says his production on offense is due in part to his mental preparation in the offseason.
I just had to get my head right, and then once I did that, I kind of calmed myself down. I kind of just got it too big for my own self. I had to humble myself, and I think that, with me doing that, I'm kind of able to deal with a lot of things that I wasn't at first.
The bond between the Foreman brothers goes far beyond the football field. The twins got the same tattoo, a picture of themselves during the 2015 Oklahoma game, and it serves as a daily reminder of how much they mean to each other.
That was just something special, and it'll stay with us for the rest of our life.
The Foreman brothers will have the rest of their lives to enjoy each other's company, but now they only have 2 years left on campus to leave their own legacy, and they want to take advantage of every single second. Mark Skoll Jr., College Press Box.
Join us on Wednesday night for College Crossfire. We'll hear what host Reese Miller and our entire panel thought about the Longhorns' win over Iowa State. A special thanks to Tyler King, Luke Hendry, Grant Michaels, James Grachos, Eric Goodman, Mark Skoll Jr., our director and executive producer Alyssa Killebrew, and our entire crew. Thanks again for tuning in tonight. I'm Nick Kucholtz. We'll see you next week.